We've talked a lot about the young quarterbacks, the rookie quarterbacks through the course of this show. Chase Daniel joined us earlier. And Mike Garafolo on with his impressions from what he's seen so far. Let's talk for a second about an older quarterback, because the Matthew Stafford situation continues to evolve. He was supposed to be back on the field today. Sean McVay had said on Saturday after the preseason game that he had been feeling good, no restrictions in a throwing session, back on Monday. And then today, no Stafford. On the sideline in street clothes, quote from Sean McVay, he said, "We're going to be smart, but he didn't feel good enough, and we didn't think it was the right thing to do based on how he woke up feeling. Came in Monday, didn't feel great, so doesn't feel like it was the right decision to push him." He said he's going to be flexible and fluid, kind of like my voice right there. Asked if surgery had been discussed, McVay said that hasn't been a conversation that we've had. So here's what you have. You see more of those quotes from Sean McVay.
This is not good.
Listen, I am not in any way comparing myself to an NFL quarterback, but I have had an aggravation in my back. They thought it was a herniated disc. I went through multiple rounds of epidurals. I went through extensive treatment. I did everything right up into a meeting with a spinal surgeon who ordered a new MRI and told me, "Hey, you don't have a herniated disc." There are millions of Americans with non-specific lower back pain. Like every year, there are that many people who have these things. And more or less what the doctors say, and it's like the most undoctorly thing, but it's just like, it should go away eventually. Go away in like a year. You can do these things like epidurals that are supposed to help it, but if the needle's not in exactly the right spot, if you twist the wrong way, for me, it was things like if I turned a doorknob, I would feel it in my back just because of the way that would torque a little bit. But then eventually after that re-diagnosis, I started doing Pilates and it went away about a year after it first had happened. So again, I'm not comparing that to Matthew Stafford, but anybody who's dealt with back issues, things like an aggravated disc, as our Ian Rappaport had first reported that it was, you're talking about something that is very, very tricky because there's not like a linear way. It's not as simple as, hey, go and do surgery. You get a spinal fusion, but you're not going to want to do that if you're playing in the NFL. If you're just talking about, irritations and things like that, aggravations, this could be a longer term type of a thing. That doesn't mean Matthew Stafford can't play. That doesn't mean that this is somehow a signal that this is much worse and he's going to miss half the season, but it is indicative of the nature of what you're dealing with. So when Sean McVay says it's fluid, that may well be the case. Stafford has dealt with, back injuries, thumb injuries, a shoulder at one point. Every year it seems like there's something, and it's always a little edgy in camp, and then come the start of the season, everything's fine. Yeah. Remember when this offseason began? It was Matthew Stafford and the Rams going back and forth about a contract, Stafford's agent having permission to go talk to other clubs about a trade, and then it eventually ends up with Stafford going back. So this was not like this was something everybody knew about and it was covered up or something. everybody was on the same page that this guy's going to be totally fine. There's enough here that it bears watching because you're talking about 3.5 weeks for a close to 40-year-old quarterback who's got a lot more gray in that beard than he used to. Back issues are something that can linger. And so even if he's able to push it, how effective can he be? How many reps is he getting? That is definitely all worth discussing. So stay tuned on Matthew Stafford. The backups there, by the way, Jimmy Garoppolo and Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett won a lot of games back at Georgia. Jimmy Garoppolo has won a lot of games in the NFL. Has had his share of injuries through the years as well. I would think, Brockman, if you're looking at this just objectively, that even going to a Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to make people feel real comfortable about picking, let's call it that, the Rams to achieve their requisite number of wins, if you understand what I'm saying.
I do understand what you're saying. Rams win total right now with Matt Stafford, 9.5. You're getting minus money on the over 9.5, so Vegas is expecting a 10, 11, maybe 12-win season.
They could win 10 games with Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know that they're going to be a
interesting
Super Bowl contender. That's one of the big takeaways going into the offseason was the Rams were that close. They probably gave the Eagles the toughest game that Philly had in the entire playoffs.
A couple of bad fumbles in the weather, probably weather-related fumbles by Kyren Williams and Matt Stafford.
Correct. And so, again, and I am not saying Matthew Stafford's going to miss time. This could be in a week he's out there or whatever
yes,
it may be.
But the fact that he was with Sean being asked about surgery and it wasn't like, yeah, right. It was, nope, we haven't discussed that as of yet.
But again, if it's this type of a back pain, there may not be, an aggravated disc. That's different than a herniated disc where you can shave it down. If it's just an aggravation, that does sound, again, I'm not comparing myself to Matthew Stafford. I'm just saying that sounds a lot like what I've dealt with
and pain what management.
Millions of people deal with.
Right.
It's not even all pain management. It's also just about functionally. You can take all the muscle relaxers you want, but if your back just keeps locking up on you over and over, it's not great. So, but Jimmy Garoppolo, the issue wouldn't even be, can he go out there and function in the offense? I'm sure he can. I mean, he went to a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan in a pretty similar offense. It's with Jimmy, he's also got a long injury history. Something happens to him, and you don't have Stafford. Now you're to Stetson Bennett, who, again, won a ton of games at Georgia, missed his entire rookie season because of things that were going on in his life away from the field, has come back. He's looked pretty good. But you're down an interesting slope here at a time that, if we rewind a little bit, what were the Rams' plans going to be if they did not get Stafford back and they traded him?
It was going to be Aaron Rodgers.
It was quite possibly going to be Aaron Rodgers, who is now taken and is in Pittsburgh. And I wouldn't anticipate that's a situation that's going to change and suddenly he's going to become available via trade.
Does Ryan Tannehill still have the same phone number?
Ryan Tannehill would be an option. Or there's a guy in Atlanta who's currently due $27.5 million to not play football this season. If something were to happen to Stafford,
interesting.
There is an option out there of somebody who has had a lot of success playing for Kyle Shanahan, being in that offense. Wouldn't be much of a learning curve. Again, we are not there. But those are those types of things you have to start thinking about if you get to a point where Matthew Stafford's availability for the start of the season is truly within doubt.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.